Welcome to our Athletic Directors Podcast and Videocast with Bill Chaves. It's brought to you by Cheney Federal Credit Union, serving their members' financial needs since 1951. All right, Bill, great win over Montana in the second round of the playoffs on Saturday. How did it go just as far as the fan experience and with the NCAA and all the things you have to worry about in the playoffs that you might not have to worry about in the regular season?
Yeah, no, I think it went quite well. Obviously we were fortunate with the weather as well. That's always, kind of a tricky thing in December. But, our staff has done just a tremendous job over the last several years hosting these games. And, they're difficult to pull off because, again, as I spoke to a number of folks last week, when you're hosting, say, a Montana, in this case scenario, well, we know 2 years from now when they're coming back to Cheney. And it's, a little different when you have 2 weeks notice. And so there's a lot of conversations that we had about what made sense and what didn't make sense. But from a game management standpoint, I think, the university was just awesome. And everyone, from police to facilities to upper administration to, obviously our own staff, just do a whale of a job. And it's an undertaking to put on an event like that. And then when you're turning around and doing it again the following week, potentially, and you don't know, obviously you kind of hit the reset button, you do it all over again, and we're happy to do it.
And tickets tickets are on sale right now. There will probably be a few more available for those stragglers that because you probably won't have as many taken by obviously Montana fans. Illinois State's not going to take as many as Montana did, probably.
That's correct. And so I don't think they're traveling their band. That's the latest I heard yesterday. So but long story short, I know our season ticket base has certainly grown, and we're thankful of that. And but anybody that's thinking about coming out and in a sense getting a taste test of what all this is all about and what the environment's like, and then watch playoff football. There's only two of 8 teams left in the country. It's going to be a great game. They come in a very, very good team. Obviously, you're going to have to play somebody good, right? I would love for folks to come out. Saturday at 1 o'clock. I'm not quite sure there's going to be a whole lot of competition from maybe the sports side of things live locally. And I'm looking at the forecast. It looks okay right now.
Yeah, hopefully it will, cross our fingers, do whatever we have to do in order to get that mid to upper 30s, 40 degrees with no rain.
That's right.
Or snow, which is always a concern as well. Anything else that you want to talk about here very quickly, just regarding football in Illinois State on Saturday? Yeah,
we're fortunate enough to play them a couple of years ago in the same round, and we just know they're a good team. Coach Brock does a good job, and he's is going to come in with a really good team, and I know the Missouri Valley has done a great job this year, period, as a conference. So we'll have our hands full, no question about it. But it should be a whale of a game. I think the teams to some degree know each other, so that'll be interesting how it all plays itself. But if I remember correctly, I don't think Vernon didn't play against him. I think Kyle played.
Kyle was the majority. I think Vernon was 1 out of 3 for 11 yards
is that right?
or something. He got in a little bit maybe at the end.
Gotcha.
But Kyle, Padron was the guy, 6 touchdowns in the ball game.
That's right. Well, it was neat, too, on Saturday, too. If we look back here on the fence, everyone on the fence was here except for Eric Meyer.
Yeah, okay.
So that was kind of neat, and it's kind of neat to see all of our alums and obviously great players be back, and then a couple of our pros, Taiwan and Michael, on the other side of the stadium as you go into the entrance here of P12, they were here as well. So that was kind of neat to see all those guys back, and I think a good chunk of them will be back again this week.
Yeah, and most of them played for Bo, and so that consistency helped, I'm sure, with getting them back because their coach is still involved as the coach at Eastern.
That's right.
Now, so we kind of segue into this, and it's rumor season, as I mentioned with Bo in our podcast, and that's something that we're going to have to deal with for as long as he's here at Eastern. In all likelihood, every year there's going to be rumors. Who's looking at him, who's not looking at him, etc. So, now what is the protocol for another athletic director if they wanted to talk to Bo? Do they come through you first, or can they just skirt around the issue, talk to an agent if he has an agent, or talk to him directly without notifying you?
Yeah, I think there was maybe maybe back in the day at some stage of the game, and I don't know when that date was. It certainly preceded me as an athletic director, but I think you literally picked up the phone and I think you called each other and you asked for permission, much like you'd ask for someone's hand in marriage. You'd be asking, the dad, can I go marry your daughter? Well, I'm not sure how much that happens anymore. I don't know. I think it does to some degree, but some do, some don't. I guess is the best way of putting it. And I will say this. What an awesome opportunity when any of your coaches are having opportunities, potential opportunities. And if that's the case, that means something's going pretty darn well in the program. And so I'm excited for anybody that potentially could have a great opportunity. And, with that, I can say this is that if you're going into a coaching search, I can tell you this, you never know how it's going to end. You don't. I mean, you can pretend you might know. Maybe if you're at the top of the food chain, maybe you're Florida, maybe you're Texas, but even last year, Texas, I'm not quite sure. I don't know how it all played itself out. So you'd have to give someone truth serum. But I don't know what they thought going in versus what the end result was. So I don't know. But at the end of it all, you go in and you give yourself, I think, a kind of a list of qualities that you might be thinking in candidates and maybe certain boxes you want them to check. But outside of that, then you don't know how it's all going to play out. I don't know if I answered your question, but I think this day and age too, you do maybe have middle people that maybe sort of kick tires and feel things out. And so at the end of it all, I think each institution has to do what they think is in their best interest. And, like I said, you go into it and you might do the same search 5 straight years and you might have 5 different results. You just never know.
Do you have a little list, and it doesn't have to be for football, it could be for basketball, men's or women's or volleyball or whatever the other sport, that if you do lose your coach, that you have, a list of however many names, 2 to 10 or whatever it is, of people that you might want to chat with if something happens?
The best way I'll answer that, like I said, I think that probably has somewhere along the line, maybe someone counterpart-wise back in the day kind of said that whole thought process. I say it just a little bit differently. I sure hope I know the landscape. I mean, that's what I will say. If I don't know the landscape, you need to change the locks on my door after this podcast. I mean, holy cow! If I don't know more about what's going on in this darn landscape, then you got the wrong person sitting in that chair. Like I said, let's go back to the original conversation. I just never know how anything's going to play out. So I don't go in with a lot of preconceived notions, because a lot of times people imagine this: they may be leveraging at the places they're at, or maybe they want a better opportunity somewhere else. You just never know. So I just stay very, very open. And but I'll tell you, I think the best case scenario is going in and trying to get it done in a way that's not a beauty pageant either. And I just don't need a runway. I don't need bouquets and all in candy getting thrown out like it's a parade on July 4th. I just don't need any of that. That you protect the candidates and you figure out who the best fit is at that time. And, here's what I will tell you, too, is a lot of people have a lot of opinions during that process. And you only make one camp happy.
Yeah.
And so if there's 10 or 20 or 30 camps, I'm going to disappoint 29 camps. That's really that's a tough one, but I think you handle hopefully the process well. And you know what? At that point in time, you hopefully get the right person at the right time.
And you've been through it for football as well as for men's basketball, with volleyball, with a lot of different sports here at Eastern. So you're kind of a veteran of the situation. Poor Ken Haslam with Montana, he just got done with a basketball coaching search. Now he's got to do it again for football. And I asked him, how many times his phone has rung in the past couple of weeks. I have no idea.
Well, I mean, and again, I don't pretend to know how anything ends up working out. But when he went through it, when Coach Tinkle went to Oregon State, which good for him. I mean, what an awesome opportunity, and he had done great things at the Big Sky level for sure. I texted him and just said, turn your voicemail off. I mean, really. I mean, and that's what you need to do because, there's a couple different entities, basketball and football. Those two communities, they will descend upon you, and if you allow that to occur, everyone has their own style on how they do what they do. And honestly, there's no black or white to this thing. It's like I say, right? It's an art, maybe not necessarily a science. But yeah, it's interesting, and there's, like I said, I'm not going to try to make this too deep here. We're not splitting atoms. We're not curing cancer. I mean, we're coaching games, but we are leading our youth to who is going to be whoever is going to lead our country. That's you're putting someone in a chair that has an awesome responsibility to do that, and so we don't take that lightly. And again, you've got to kind of ferret through what might make sense.
All right, let's shift gears. Basketball men's have a big road week coming up here. San Francisco, a very solid mid-major on Thursday, and then at the University of Washington, who may well be a top 25 team. As we record this, we don't know whether they are or they aren't, but they destroyed San Diego State last night. And I saw a lot of that game, and I'm like, ooh, that's going to be a little bit of a different deal. So it's a big week for the men.
Yeah, exactly. Big win over the weekend against Seattle. It was a good, certainly a good first half, or I shouldn't even say that. Probably a really good second part of the first half. I mean, to get up by 19 at half was tremendous, and then did a good job in the second half and just kind of held on. Going in, San Francisco is going to be really good. WCC team, and Rex Walter does a good job down there, and they'll be prepared. And we're on the road, so that's going to be a difficult one. And then you're right. Then go play UW at 5:00 on Sunday. They're a pretty darn good team, and to kind of do what they did to San Diego State, would they hold them to 36?
36, I believe.
Is that right? Yeah, and I mean that's just that's pretty stifling. And so, now our guys, the good news is we've played some, obviously some very good teams over the last couple of years, or at least this group has, and one being, UConn, last year ends up winning the national title. So I think, they'll embrace the moment.
All right, Bill, women's basketball at home on Friday as they play St. Martin's, and it's a day where you're getting area elementary kids involved.
Yeah, this is a neat promotion, and I appreciate our external staff along with Coach Schuler and her staff kind of getting this thing rolled out. Something that's really kind of gone on around the country a little bit. These games have been around for a little bit, and I'm happy that we're at a point where maybe this will be kind of an annual occurrence where a lot of local elementary school kids were going to come. And admissions is helping us. We're partnering with Eastern's admissions, and they've done an awesome job connecting with some folks. And when they get to campus, there's going to be kind of a welcome to college type of an event, and that's the whole idea. I mean, it's to get 5th, 6th graders here and get them on a college campus, thinking, hey, I belong at a college campus. That's the whole idea. And then what better way to go see a game? So we'll do it at 11 o'clock in the morning. So that'll be kind of an interesting tip time. We're just doing all kinds of different dates, and times. I mean, holy cow. But it should be a lot of fun. So if you're around, it's a Friday, during the noon hour, lunch hour, but it's 11 a.m. tip. Come on down. We'd love to have you at Reese Court.
All right. Now, we won't have video next week, but we'll try to do audio. Are you in Seattle with basketball?
I'm in Seattle, and then I go to Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Yeah, so for the FCS awards, obviously Vernon's one of 3 candidates for the Peyton Award, and so Dave Cook and I will travel. Actually, we're taking the red eye. So right from Seattle to Philadelphia, and that's our annual dinner in Philadelphia for a couple hours, and then fly back on Tuesday. So we'll have to figure that one out. Maybe Saturday after the game.
Yeah, either Saturday after the game or
Sunday
yeah. In Seattle. We'll do an audio, which will be up on the website here on GoWeeks.com.
You know what? That's what we'll do, because then the weekend will have already played itself out. Perfect.
All right, sounds good. Thanks to Bill Chaves. That's our Athletic Directors podcast, as always, here on GoWeeks.com, brought to you by Cheney Federal Credit Union.